Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the special called meeting of the Board of Regents to order at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, July 27th. We are meeting via video and/or teleconference due to our continuing COVID-19 pandemic protocols as authorized with guidance from the offices of the Governor and Attorney General of the State of Texas. Members of the public have been able to, will be able to view this live streamed or an audio of this meeting, and they have been afforded an opportunity to provide public comment as well. We're going to start off with our roll call, and we're going to start with welcoming our newest board member, Dr. Linda Villarreal. Congratulations again, and we welcome you, and you are present.
I am. Great to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Present.
Dr. Turner.
Present.
Dr. Adami.
Here.
Ms. Hutchison.
Here.
Ms. Averett. Here. Mr. Garza. Here. And Mr. Bennett.
Here.
I'm Carol Scott. We have a quorum and can conduct business. Thank you very much. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you all. Dr. Turner, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in reading the Del Mar College Vision Statement. Del Mar College will be the premier choice for life-changing educational opportunities provided by responsive, innovative faculty and staff who empower students to improve local and global communities. Thank you very much. Del Mar College is streaming live audio and video from the official Board of Regents meeting on the college's website in real time, with the exception of portions of the meeting considered as closed session by statute. We did not have anyone register for public comment this morning on any of our agenda items. We are going to proceed with our closed session at the beginning of this meeting, and we will reconvene in public session at approximately 1 p.m., although it may be earlier based on how long it takes us to get through closed session. So with that, I'm going to read the closed session language. We're going into closed session under Texas Government Code 551.071 regarding the pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offer, with possible discussion and action in open session, and the seeking of legal advice from counsel on pending legal or contemplated matters or claims, with possible discussion and action in open session, and under Texas Government Code 551.074A1 regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including the annual evaluation of the college president and president's contract, and number 2, the annual board self-evaluation, with possible discussion and action in open session. The time is 11:03 a.m. The board has reconvened from closed session at 1:13 p.m. We do have an action item coming out of closed session. We have concluded the evaluation of our college president, Dr. Mark Escamilla, and we want to thank him for his years of service to Del Mar College. This has been an incredible year, and the board in our evaluation has noted not only the challenges and successes and all the accomplishments of the last year, but has taken into account your 12 years of service, almost 13 years of service to Del Mar College. Wait, 13, almost 14.
I'm completing my 13th.
Completing your 13th year. So we want to recognize the leadership and are just very appreciative of the work that you have done. So we'll have some more comments in a few minutes, but I did want to ask Mr. Rivera to outline the amendments to the contract, and then we'll have a motion to adopt that. Mr. Rivera.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, based on your discussions and deliberations in closed session, I believe the following are the amendments to be included amongst those that you would wish to consider in connection with the President's employment contract. First, you would be reappointing Dr. Escamilla as President Chief Executive Officer of the district for a term of 4 years, effective August 1, 2021, with a 1-year automatic renewal following a positive annual evaluation. Also, a 5% raise to his current 2021 annual base salary, which would bring the salary for 2021-22 to $340,817.94. Also, based on a positive FY21 annual performance evaluation, which you just announced, Madam Chair, Dr. Escamilla will be paid a performance bonus for FY21 in the amount of $85,000 payable by August 1, 2021. And with a further amendment to pay Dr. Escamilla an annual target bonus of $75,000 on August 1, 2022, and on August 1, 2023, subject to Dr. Escamilla's receiving a positive annual evaluation from the board for those years. And the positive annual evaluation will be determined by the board. There will be an additional 5 days of consulting leave added to Dr. Escamilla's current 10 days of consulting leave in his contract. In addition, the district shall reimburse Dr. Escamilla upon showing with good documentation an amount up to $50,000 for the purpose of buying back or reinstating 5 years of withdrawn service credit in the state retirement plans by a date certain to be finalized when we finish the contract terms. In addition, the following additional terms shall apply upon Dr. Escamilla's exit and termination of his employment from Del Mar College. Dr. Escamilla shall provide the board with a minimum of at least 6 months' notice prior to leaving the college, and in that event, Dr. Escamilla shall be allowed to retain his college-assigned communications technology, subject to the removal of all DMC data and information by the college's IT department. Dr. Escamilla shall also be entitled to the payment of an exit bonus in the amount of his annual base salary in effect at the time of his exit. The payment is expressly conditioned upon Dr. Escamilla's agreement not to be employed in any capacity by a Texas community college for a period of 1 year from the date of his termination of employment from Del Mar College. I believe those are all the amendments. Of course, there are other terms that will hold over, and this will all be subject to the preparation of a final agreement, mutually agreeable agreement. And ordinarily, you all ask, or you all authorize the general counsel and the board chair to finalize those agreements and to effectuate a signed agreement. I believe that's all that I've covered, but Regents, please, if I misstated anything, let me know.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Rivera? Ms. Averett, you have a motion?
I do. I'm happy to make that motion that we approve the contract with the amendments as outlined by Mr. Rivera, and that we have Mr. Rivera and the chair to finalize that contract.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchison. I would like to offer the opportunity for board members to make comments regarding Dr. Escamilla's performance evaluation. And I want to start off, I'll start that process by saying that indeed it has been an extraordinary year for the college to have come through the COVID pandemic and what was required of leadership of our executive team, of rank and file employees, our faculty and adjunct professors has been incredible. And recognizing that at the leadership level, I know that Dr. Escamilla was on call and was involved in a number of critical decisions over this time of crisis. But over and above the last year, Dr. Escamilla has led the college in a number of significant initiatives, including our physical plant improvements, new campus, an ERP, which is the backbone, the digital backbone of both the finance, the student records, faculty, class scheduling, everything. And so to be leading the college through the conversion of that is a significant undertaking. Our foundation is at an all-time high in terms of the capital, in terms of our assets for the foundation. Continued significant work at the legislative level to the extent that number of community colleges across the state actually lost revenue in the last fiscal year appropriations, but Del Mar College was one of the few who gained revenue and significant revenue because of our increase in contact hours. And not the least of which was a successful, and I would dare say the most successful reaccreditation process with SAC-COC in the history of Del Mar College. To come through that with such flying colors, I think has been a tremendous boost to the work that we have done, and certainly credit to Dr. Escamilla and his team. So we are just thrilled to have you here, and want to continue in working with you and this team that we have built together, and so proud of everything that we have done. So I'd like the opportunity for other board members to make comments as you would like. Ms. Hutchison?
Sure, I'll take this opportunity. I'll take all of these opportunities to say good things about Mark, because I've said I've either had the good fortune or the intelligence to join this board very shortly after Mark came to Del Mar College, and it has always made it so that I am proud to be able to tell the community that I'm part of the Del Mar College, because everyone has such a high esteem for the college, and a lot of that goes back to you, Mark, in being able to do that. I love how Mark has a macro vision for Del Mar, but he also has his eye on the details and the micro view. You know, he's getting the exemplary SACS accreditation taken care of, and at the same time I know he's meeting prospective students at the grocery store and encouraging them to come. He's getting calls from family members so he's looking at those details as well. I mean, you can see the buildings, literally the brick and mortar that have come around because of Mark's leadership and getting things done through the bond. But some of the things that everybody doesn't always see are the new software, the new innovation, the new security measures that are taken, which are just as important, and taking care of each faculty member and each student. So that's a lot to be able to do both of those things, and thanks for doing that, Mark. We support you.
Thank you.
As a relatively new board member, I've had the opportunity now to meet most of your senior staff, and you have assembled an extraordinarily talented team, and I think that's a tribute to you. Even in my short tenure, the quality of your leadership is evident. The university or the college is lucky to have you. Hopefully we'll have you for some time in the future.
Regent Kelly.
Thank you. Yes, Libby.
You know, we hear a lot about the brain drain here and folks who leave this community and don't ever come back. And I think we are extraordinarily lucky to have had you come back to Corpus Christi, in particular in Del Mar College, to lead the efforts here and to just show an exemplary kind of commitment that you don't always find in other places. And you know, in my former career as a journalist here, I remember when the news coming out of Del Mar was not always positive, was frequently news that the board didn't want to see, and remember the turnover in the CEO and president position prior to you coming here. So I am extraordinarily grateful for the stability that you've brought this institution, for the integrity that you have brought this institution, and for the friendship that you have shown me and so many others, that is centered around just being a good, kind, positive individual and trying to portray those traits for the students here, for the faculty here, and for the entire community. So I'm honored to serve with you and am so grateful for your leadership.
Thank you, Regent Everett.
Lori?
I don't think there's anything left to say, but I do want to say thank you so much for always being accessible to me. I've asked a lot of questions, and I'll text you, and I know you'll stop and you're at the grocery store. Here, let me find a corner. Like, what? Call me later. But I do appreciate all of that, and you know, just being very open and being very honest, and I really do appreciate that. And I look forward to the next 4 years and plus, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Turner. It's always my favorite place. HEB is one of my favorite places, and the more time I can spend there, the better. So I'm always anyway. Thank you.
Mark, you've been an extraordinary leader, and Del Mar is the fruits of your labor and the labor of the people who work below you, beneath you. You know that you and the administration had lifted up this college from where it was to where it is now, and the community is grateful. When I say community, I mean it's like the most positive influence, the most positive attributes that I hear from the community about Del Mar College and what you've done. And thank you. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Dr. Nick.
Rudy?
Dr. Smith. I thought I had the mic on already. Mark, appreciate your efforts here, particularly last year with the overcoming the obstacles that we had with COVID and trying to make sure that the students at least had the best opportunity they could have under the circumstances in order to continue their building their educational foundation. And I think I really agree with Libby Everett's example that she used related to the brain drain and trying to keep the students here and trying to give them hope. I've served on the Economic Development Corporation's board of directors with Lenore and with yourself at times. And I just see so many examples of young people who have been able to take advantage of the programs that you've fostered, that you've supported, and certainly the board has supported, and at the West Campus in order to be able to make sure that we train the young people in our community to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that come in and that have come with all the industrial investment that's been made in our particular region. And so again, I think that I see folks from across the country and across the world come over here and look at examples of what we're doing here at Del Mar, what's being done in our community in order to prepare our young people. And it's great to be able to say, yeah, we've got a great performance over at Del Mar College, and Dr. Escamilla is leading that charge. So again, thank you for your efforts, and we look forward to continuing the work that you're doing in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Garza.
Thank you, Rudy. Linda?
I love the fact that this was my first meeting, and the meeting was to go through the process of the final process of your evaluation and then looking into your contract. I would not have applied to this position, for this position, had it not been for you and your leadership. And that basically says it all. You have a stellar reputation in the educational field, not only in community colleges, but in K-12 public schools. And it's just an honor to not only to serve as a regent, but to serve as a regent with you and your leadership. So thank you so much. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Dr. Linda. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Linda. Regent Bennett?
Yes, the reputation of the college is a reflection of the hard work and leadership that you put into it. Del Mar enjoys a reputation that's stellar, not only in Corpus, but throughout the state. So we appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Bennett. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the contract provisions as presented and authorize the chair of the board and the general counsel to execute the contract when finalized.
Regent Scott, just one minor detail.
Yes.
With respect to the exit bonus, I forgot, there was actually a lead-in that it would be tied to recognition for Dr. Escamilla's outstanding service and dedication at Del Mar College since 2008.
Thank you.
So unless there's any objection, I just wanted that detail to be on the record so it can be in our final version.
Thank you, sir. No objections to the motion?
No objection.
Thank you. Second, thank you. All right, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please raise your hand. That motion is unanimously passed. Again, thank you all very much for the process, for working with us. I think it is very valuable for the board to have the in-depth kind of conversations we've had over the past several months. And thank you, Dr. Escamilla, again, for the work that you have done and for your service to Del Mar College.
If I may, just a brief.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, just a short thank you to the regents, to the entire college, to the community. There's still much work to be done. I will continue to give it 1,000%. And I appreciate my team. The team, I see myself on the bottom of the upside down pyramid, and with the team in front of me, and it doesn't happen without them. Dr. Linda, the K through 12 comment struck me. I got a big lump in my throat. I always remember the essence of our community is our children and the young folks. I was once young, Dr. Rudy. I'm not as young anymore. But I appreciate the comments about the brain drain. I've been watching it closely. Just thank you for everything. Thank you for this opportunity to serve and continue to serve. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you. So with that, we will move on to the bulk of our afternoon is going to be spent in discussion, kind of our final budget workshop related to our maintenance and operations budget, as well as the debt service budget for fiscal year 21-22. We have an in-depth conversation today because we have some final figures that we can work with. Today, we will not make a decision today. That's why it's in workshop form. But the board will be looking to take action on these items later in August. We'll have 2 meetings in August that we'll cover as part of our calendar. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Escamilla to make some introductory remarks, and then to Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Regents, as we move into this workshop to talk about the budget and how it has shaped up until this point, in just a few short days, we really begin to dive into both by way of breadth and depth into the details of our budget. I'm just going to begin by saying that this budget, despite the most extraordinary year, one of the most extraordinary years in our world's history that we've just experienced, the way the financial planets and have aligned has been extraordinary. And what do I mean by that? We're going to present to you a budget that has three items that cannot go unnoticed. We have what I would call almost a perfect scenario. I won't call it a storm, but a perfect scenario whereby our proposed overall tax rate is proposed to go down. We have a tuition freeze in the same year, as well as appropriations going up by way of working for it and competing for it. That's just the way the Texas Community College system works. It's an enrollment-driven process. When you have those three factors, those are the three factors that are undergirding today's presentation. It is an ideal situation, and it doesn't happen very often. We've gotten very close, and I think it's been maybe one other time in my 13-year history that we put these budgets together. But it's an extraordinary time, and with those circumstances, I just again want to give the college, the team, full credit for pulling together and working so much. I want to thank the business office, the academic office, the entire college for coming together, to put this proposal together, this proposed budget at this point, with the most ideal circumstances. It's an incredible day, and thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. So good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Mr. President, and Mr. President, congratulations, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Is your mic on, Mr. Garcia?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
There we go.
Okay. Should I do that again? Okay. So here we go. So over the past few months, the college has delivered 2 primary budget presentations leading to today's workshop. Today's presentation is more comprehensive with 5 major categories, including the budget calendar, the allocation of financial resources, the proposed operating revenue and expenses, and an estimated 5-year financial outlook. In addition, we will describe the college's integrated planning framework and the 2022 year-end strategic plan initiatives as a backdrop to the 2022 proposed budget plan. We will then close the presentation with a 5-year forecast. So let's begin with the budget calendar on the next slide. The month of August will include a series of activities leading to the board's approval of the proposed 2022 budget. The first milestone, as mandated by the Texas Code, is to publish the tax rate notice on the DMC website by August 7th. The mandate requires the college to publicly disclose the voter-approved tax rate and the no new revenue tax rate. The voter-approved tax rate is the highest tax rate that may be adopted without holding an election to seek voter approval. Please note, the college has no intention of proposing a tax rate that exceeds the voter-approved tax rate. Next is the no new revenue rate tax rate. This tax rate will generate the same amount of property tax revenue as in the previous year. This last rate does not take into consideration the cost of inflation, which we will talk about later in this presentation. At our August 10th meeting, the college will deliver a final draft of the proposed budget with updates based on today's conversation. So we're really looking for some feedback from the board to continue to move forward the budget plan, the proposed budget plan. We will then pivot to the state-mandated public hearings, followed by the board's approval of the 2022 proposed budget and tax rate on August 24th. Are there any questions on the budget calendaring for the month of August? Okay. All right. So one key takeaway from today's presentation, there'll be many more, is Del Mar's robust integrated planning framework. Our framework follows the framework prescribed by the Society of Colleges and Universities Planning. Our integrated planning framework includes our Aspire, Engage, Achieve strategic plan and guides the college's vision, priorities, and people in a system of evaluation, decision-making, and action. Please note, the success of our reaffirmation by SAC-COC is attributed, in part, to our sound integrated planning framework and our financial agility to drive strategic goals forward. Another key takeaway is the college's strong financial agility, attributed to our formula for planning, assessing, and adjusting. Fiscal year 2020 is a good example, whereby the various budget stakeholders quickly moved forward with reducing spending in order to fund our risk reserve fund as we face the uncertainty of the pandemic. The purpose of the fund is to minimize business interruptions relating to unforeseeable natural, health, and economic crisis. In addition, we continue to successfully navigate through the pandemic today with a preliminary surplus in our current year north of $4 million. This surplus is attributed in part to reduced spending and her funding used to supplement our operations. So, Dr. Wilson will continue the discussion of our robust integrated planning framework.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very good to see you. This afternoon, you're going to be getting into many of the details of our proposed budget. But before we do that, as VP Garcia mentioned, it's important to note the context in which this budget was built. So I know that most of us here are very, very familiar with our strategic plan, but I'm going to give a brief context into that, that background, that foundation. Our strategic plan is titled Aspire, Engage, Achieve, and that title encompasses what we hope to accomplish with this plan over the course of its 5-year time period. It was adopted in September of 2019, and since then the college has been diligently implementing each of the pieces of the plan, which, as you can see on the slide, there are 6 overarching goals. The first of which is completion. So it's not just students completing a degree, but really completing their goals. Goal 2, recruitment and persistence. We want to make sure that we are continuing to enroll students who are seeking higher education, but also keeping them enrolled. Third, academic preparedness and student learning. We have to make sure our students are continuing to learn. Goal 4, our learning environments. Are we creating and sustaining environments in which our students are comfortable and can learn? 5, workforce development, community partnerships, and advocacy. As everyone here knows, we play a very key role in the community, and we want to make sure that we meet community needs. And finally, financial effectiveness and affordability. So though today's discussion will focus on that goal 6, it's important to note that these goals are infused into the operations of everything we do here at the college. So it is not just discussed at board meetings. Every unit of the college has its own plan that it develops and maintains annually, its own strategies that's linked to the strategic plan. So when the budget development process begins, it really is integrated with the operational plans of all areas of the college. So as you know, you do receive regular updates on our strategic plan and how implementation is going, how we are achieving our KPIs, but along with the strategic plan, each area of the college has its own operational plan. Student services, academics, enrollment, facilities, technology, HR, and all of these plans are utilized to develop and to identify the priorities for the budget plan. So as you get started with learning about the details of this plan, it's really important for us to share with you that this budget was not developed in a vacuum. It didn't come about because we think, well, we think these are important. That's definitely not the case. It's definitely a key piece of our overall integrated planning process. Okay. And to give some example of how that happens in action, Lenora Keys will share some of our strategic initiatives and how they are tied to the strategic plan.
Thank you, Christina, Dr. Wilson. As we look at these strategic plan initiatives, you can see how they support the overall budget as we look at this long-term strategy. These are examples of the goals and strategies that are directly supported within the strategic plan. Implementing a new academic programs within workforce in your academic areas are critical as we move forward this year. You can see the Bachelor of Science program that was previously approved will be started this fall. And we're also expanding our continuing education programs really throughout the region. You see here where 3 different goals are addressed within these strategies. 2 examples for this fall will be this, we're also going to invest heavily in professional growth and leadership. This last year, there was a reduction in travel expenses as we met the demands of COVID. And this year, you'll see additional funds going back into travel and professional development, which also goes to support Goal 3. Additionally, we always want to retain and recruit the most effective people and exceptional faculty that we can. Along with this goes the need for increased and supported employee compensation. You will see a slight increase in salaries in this budget. We also want to focus on expanding programming on our South Side. A long-term goal of this board and the college has been to expand services on the South Side of Corpus Christi. And we're very proud to be bringing on the operations of the South Side campus this spring. You'll see 4 different goals that are addressed here that are directly supported as we implement the South Side initiatives. As we begin to expand our programming throughout the entire service area, again, this is meeting another long-range goal for the college. For many years, we've focused on how do we expand services into our entire service area. We've expanded our dual credit offerings into many school districts throughout the region. We're presently looking at school districts to the west and east and south. So it's really become a much more of a regional attraction for our students and families as we've expanded our continuing education and credit courses and focusing on career technology too. So as we bring about the new Aransas County Workforce Entrepreneurship Entrepreneurship Center in Rockport. That will come online hopefully next spring. It's a facility that's being remodeled, and we will be operating and managing it over there. And so you'll see additional dollars within this budget to support that as an example. And so I offer to you these as examples that as we move forward throughout this budget and we look to really implement this strategic plan. Thank you.
So thank you, Ms. Keys. So this is a good segue into a discussion around our proposed operating expense budget associated with the strategic initiatives described by Ms. Keys. So we began with the inflationary rate as a backdrop to our proposed expense budget. The inflation rate in June soared to 5.4%. This is a jump from January's inflation rate of 1.4%. According to the Federal Reserve, this upward inflation rate trajectory is transitory. Further increases will depend on the scaling of the Delta virus variant, vaccinations, and the continued supply chain disruptions such as labor and material shortages. On the topic of labor shortages, the May unemployment rate of 7.5% for our region continues to be elevated relative to our pre-pandemic unemployment rates in February 2020 of 4.4%. This difference represents workers in our region of approximately 2,800 altogether. In an effort to narrow the labor shortage gap, the Federal Reserve has reported instances of increased labor costs that are contributing to the rising consumer prices. Ms. Keys will next provide further expense details associated with the strategic plan initiatives described earlier. In addition, Dr. Kathy will also join in the presentation. Thank you.
In light of the recent increase in COVID-19 and the variants, the college recognizes that increased expenses such as personal protection devices and the delivery of instruction may change. As over this past year, expenses have been reduced, and we met those expenses by taking funds from one area to another and making those changes that needed to happen. In this budget, you'll see where those expenses are now increased, where we've added the money back, okay, as we move forward. However, if this situation continues, we do want you to know that the expenses will continue to be revised or monitored as we may have to make changes throughout the academic year.
Good afternoon, Regents and Madam Chair. This slide summarizes the major categories of the increases and decreases to our M&O expenses for fiscal year 2022. So going down the left side are increases in employee compensation, which Tammy will review with you in the coming slides. We see an increase in consultants and contract labor, which is attributable to our custodial services contract. We have an increase in premiums related to our insurance, property, and casualty. On the south side, we are budgeting for partial year operation in 2022, so we are adding in some expenses there. As mentioned earlier, we are putting back some of the travel and professional development expenses that we cut because of COVID, but those are very important for faculty and staff to be able to seek their professional development. So we are putting those dollars, some of those dollars back, not all. The other category, other O&M, is just a pool of a lot of smaller items across the board increases. On the decrease side, we're taking advantage of savings that we see. The first line item, we consistently run under budget on our bank fees, and so we are taking some budget dollars out of there. It is not an election year, so we don't need to budget for election expense. And then on utilities and telephone, We see cost savings due to our renegotiated electric service provider electricity bills. Okay, this slide puts all the expenses together, compares where we started it with our 2021 budget, going over to our 2022 budget, and it has all expense categories. As I mentioned, Tammy will be reviewing employee compensation with you. And then on the non-salary expenses, as you can see, those net to a slight increase of around 286,000. We are taking out that $1 million line item on the South Campus, that placeholder that we had in the 2021 budget, and moving dollars up into the proper line item that belonged there. And that gets us down to our new total for the FY 2022 budget of the 110,924, 158.
I have a question.
Yes.
Going back to slide 9, when you're looking at those increases, are those normal yearly increases that are, I mean, like the consultant contract labor, the compensation, those are every year expenses, correct?
Right.
That normally increase?
Yeah, usually if you budget for increases for salary, for employee salaries, you're going to see increases. And as I mentioned, the custodial contract increase and also premium increases on insurance. So those are normal.
Normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now I'll turn it over to Tammy.
Good afternoon. We'll start off with our proposed compensation increases. Our faculty salary is made up of 4 components, which is our common base, year experience, rank, and education. Today we're going to talk about proposed increases to approve the year of experience pay, which is $829, and that's across the board for all full-time faculty who are eligible for that year experience pay. The next would be to increase our common base, which is currently $50,000, and that's like your entry level for faculty, to increase that to $51,240. And then you'll see the respective amounts, which for the year of experience pay is $231,729, and then to increase the common base would be $395,973. Now, when we increase any type of pay to faculty, then those faculty that do teach summer, because their pay is based off of a 9-month contract, so any summer pay is in addition to. So it impacts what we do budget for summer pay. So I always take into account what that would impact. So for these increases, it would be $103,713 summer pay. And then, of course, anytime you increase wages, you increase those benefits that are associated to pay. That'd be $182,854. So the total increase for faculty cumulative would be $914,269. These 2 combined increases proposed for faculty is across the board would be for all eligible faculty would be $2,069, which is right at 3% increase of the average faculty 9-month contract is $68,660 right now. So our average pay for faculty right now is $68,660. So the $2,069 is right at 3% of that average 9-month contract. So as we move into exempt employees, we are noting a 3% increase to exempt employees. That amount would be $407,941. Associated benefits, $101,986. We're also proposing a 3% increase to non-exempt employees, and then take into account these are for full-time eligible employees across all the proposed increases. So for non-exempt, it would be $213,784. The associated benefits, $53,446. So for exempt, non-exempt, $777,157. So the total proposed compensation increase for salary and associated benefits for all categories would be $1,691,426.
I have a question.
Sir.
For Dr. Escamilla, have we gotten feedback from the faculty on the 3% proposed increase?
Yes, sir. I've been working with the faculty council on that, and that's the short answer. I can give you details. There was there's talk about the immediate number at the 3%, and there's also, our discussions also took us into a multi-year strategic proposal to look at well, a multi-year plan to bring to the board to position the faculty and staff, but in this case, you asked about the faculty, to position the faculty into the future. The item that has come to the table, has come many times over the past 13 years that I've been here, and that is addressing the rate at which we pay labs. And so your typical pay scale for a lab is 0.5 for every hour versus 1-to-1 scenario. And so at half pay per hour for the labs is something that has been on the table many times. It is an extraordinary, as I discussed with the faculty council chair, I've addressed that before. In fact, when I was in Illinois, we addressed it. In fact, Mr. Garcia and I were together when we put together that plan to accommodate to address that and overcome that. In addition, I suggested to faculty council chairs, Dr. Paul Gottermiller, and his executive team as well, that a multi-year a study, along with a multi-year plan, with an understanding that every year is different, but putting together a multi-year approach to faculty salaries can position this college in an extremely positive way to maintain current talent, and then to recruit future talent. So that's my answer, Mr. Bennett. Well, one other thing, their requests out there that they put on the table were, again, significantly more than what's on the table at this point. But again, their requests, the discussion was to address the much bigger number that they put on the table over a multi-year discussion. But that being said, yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, my concern is I just heard a 5% inflation number, and we're proposing a 3% increase, and effectively that's a 2% decrease. But I've been watching the M2 money supply for the last 18 months, and I'm surprised we're only at a 5% inflation rate.
Yes, sir.
So that's my concern. I don't want to see them lose ground because of inflation. That's the concern I have.
That is very much appreciated, and that's what this conversation is all about. And that was brought up. Dr. Gottermiller is a extremely well-versed professional and understands economics extremely well. It's something that Mr. Garcia has talked about as well, and I appreciate those comments out there, and this is the time to talk about it. Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Dr. Escamilla, may I add that the approach you're talking about is something that we put in place in 2013 and set goals and set benchmarks for faculty salary. And our goal back in 2013 was to get them up to 50,000 base, which we did a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So we've done this with that group before.
Yep.
And so it's very similar to what we did in about 2013 on.
It took us multiple years, Regents, especially for the newer ones, to get us to a $50,000 base. Of course, there's components and all of these other pieces that go with it. But it was a multi-year approach. I think it took us 3 to 4 years. I think it was 1 year to pull the plan together, and then 3 years successively to move into that, maybe with a break between a year or two. But it does take a long-term strategy to get us to where we believe we need to be. That being said, the the $50,000 number, when you look back in retrospect now, it's like, well, it's it's become way more common across the state. We were one of the first, we were one of the few to hit that level, relative few out of the 50 colleges. And when we did, it was an extraordinary thing. But it takes time, it takes planning. Inflation coming, Mr. Bennett, the way it is, with the price of eggs and copper and everything else. I really appreciate your comments.
So can we separate, just for a second, can we separate the question about 3% pay raise from a longer-term
Yes.
salary study? Because I think those are two separate things.
Yes.
So given that, let's have some comments on each of those, but let's recognize that those two things are not the same.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Dr. Turner.
So looking at the 3% versus 5% and so forth, what is part of their benefit package? And so when you look at benefits, is that just healthcare, or is that also including vacation? What other benefits can we offer to go with salary? I don't know, for compensation, because we talked about it with contract earlier. So is there anything to help with recruitment, retainment that may not plug into a budget?
Well, as far as benefits, what's included in the benefits are, like I think I talked about a little bit last board meeting, was we are a participating institution for Social Security. Where pretty much your K through 12s are not. And there are also some community colleges in Texas who do not participate in Social Security. We do participate. So that is a benefit because you can draw your Social Security and it not affect your retirement annuity through TRS.
Okay.
If it comes from a participating entity that participates in Social Security. So it's Social Security, it's unemployment insurance, workers' comp insurance, health insurance. The college does pay for one level. It's 1 times your annual salary of life insurance. The college pays for that. It is also the college pays for long-term disability insurance. It also includes paid time off, vacation, sick. Now, on faculty side, because they have a 9-month contract, they don't get vacation allotted, but they do get sick leave and what we call personal hours. And then on the staff side, it's vacation, sick, and some personal hours. So it's all that in one is included in a benefit. It's something the college pays for. It's not something that's offered that the employees can pay on their own. So it's what the college pays for, and it's all that combined.
Okay. Standard.
Excuse
So
me.
we do have a very, excuse me, ma'am.
Well, you mentioned Social Security, and I was wondering, does that come out of the employee's compensation? In other words, did they pay it, correct?
And the college, yes.
And the college, so
Yes,
there's a
it's both.
combined. Yeah,
Right.
I think I think it's wonderful, especially now that I'm at my age. I think it's wonderful because I paid into Social Security. Many times, people look at it as, oh gosh, it's going to be taken out of my salary, and they don't really realize it until many years later. But I was wondering about that. And the only other question I had is, are there any programs, just for my knowledge, at the college level? I know that the state and the nation really is working a lot on K-12 teacher salaries, and they have this program called the Teacher Incentive Allotment. And we're going to have teachers in our region that are going to be making close to $90,000, over $100,000 because of this Teacher Incentive Allotment. Is there anything like that for community colleges? Nothing?
The closest thing to that, it was some money that came from the state for nursing faculty during the critical, well, it's always been critical. It's just,
Right.
I think that's 25 years ago or so, maybe 20, that they had certain dollars to augment faculty salaries for teaching nursing.
It was a grant, and it supplemented their base pay to get them up to a certain level, but we've surpassed that level, and the
Yeah.
grant money no longer is there, so.
Yeah, that was an old bit.
Yeah. And one important thing is our retirement plans. We do have very, what I call, because I also came from private sector also, so I've been in all worlds, I guess you could say, as employers, and we do have a very robust and rich benefit package all the way around for our employees.
There's tuition offered
Yes.
to all employees and spouses and dependents. And so that is another one that we brought on board back in, good gosh, a while back. And it's one that the faculty and staff have just, for a relatively small investment, it has been an extraordinary benefit for families bringing their spouses' independence through. It's been an extraordinary thing.
I think one thing that's important to your faculty is that they can gain tenure and they can gain permission. We have promotion in rank. So they start as an instructor and then go to assistant professor, associate professor, and professor. And with each level of rank, there's additional monies.
Yeah. And not all community colleges have rank or tenure.
That's for sure. That's for sure. That is a both a property right and a way of doing business at Del Mar College. I remember the day I interviewed here, and they asked, "You don't have tenure where you come from. How are you going to support tenure when you come here?" I said, "This is the way Del Mar College does business, and we've made some changes and adjustments, but over the years, but it's an extraordinarily nuanced piece of the contract. It's got all kinds of nuances to it, is what I mean to say, and it is it's a critical part. It's a critical part of recruiting faculty, and as Ms. McDonald was saying, not all colleges have it. Of course, I came from, prior to Tyler, I was in Chicago where there was tenure and unions and all these other things, and so it's an extraordinary way of doing business. We've done it for a very long time, and it's a very powerful tool for our faculty.
Mr. Bennett, did that answer your questions? Do you have other questions or comments?
I actually have one other comment. That Social Security, that is a huge benefit to the employees. It cost us a little over 6%, but it costs them a little over 6% in their net paycheck. And they see that as an expense until they reach about 60 years old and realize what it's going to do for them. So I don't know how much we've promoted that, but that is a huge benefit. And we're paying, on a $50,000 salary, we're paying 6% of that, $3,000 extra dollars. Now they are too, and they see that as an expense of theirs, but it really isn't. That's a big investment, and we need to promote that, I think.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bennett. And in fact, when we've recruited over the years, it scares some people when they're coming in. You know, they negotiate, a new employee will negotiate a contract, and then all of a sudden there's a 6% delta. You know, we make sure that they know that up front, because there have been people that signed contracts and so forth and came and said, "Where's my 6%?" And well, Uncle Sam saving it for you was the answer, but hopefully, but so yes, sir, and we are very much, that is a very significant item that Ms. Tammy and the team are sure to put up front, and we committees and so forth. It's all part of our protocols to make sure they understand that.
Any other comments about the 3%
I've
versus,
got-
yes?
I mean, I think that it's good that we're being proactive, and I understand that this is all in the context of retaining faculty and employees. Are we experiencing a problem with that right now? Are you observing that we're having a difficult time recruiting or retaining the faculty members we'd like to keep?
So from my perspective over the years, what I've known about Corpus is you got to mean to come to Corpus Christi. Okay, there's that. And is it a problem? I think there's an inherent problem. We're 2.5 hours by way of driving from anywhere. Okay, and then we're on the coast, and then we have the notorious storms and that kind of stuff. So those geographic problems are some of the most commonly noted and stated issues when we're recruiting people to come down from east, west, north, or anywhere from here. We just treat it as a constant. And then the other part of all that, Regent Kelly, is that maintaining competitive levels from colleges and universities from all over. You know, nowadays with faculty being able to teach both in person to person and now online and so forth, you know, it just gets really, really complex as we evolve. And so we put it at the forefront. It is again, an inherent part of doing business, and we don't take anything for granted.
So because of our geographic isolation, you're thinking we do have to be above market to get the faculty that we want?
All levels of employees, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I didn't mean to just single out the
Yeah,
teachers.
but no, we were talking about faculty. No problem. But I'm just saying, all the way through, if we're going to look for someone to come in and take care of our boilers and chillers and so forth, and we don't have somebody here locally, it's hard to bring somebody from the Midwest.
Got it. Right.
I have a question related to the potential study, compensation study you talked about. Is that a formal process right now, or are you just in beginning stages of thinking and talking about that? Tell me what that is.
So we've done them over the
Yep.
years, and it's been a while. And we were talking the other day. We just briefly talked about that. As we were talking about this, with as many new members of the board, especially as we have now, Ms. Keys and I were talking about that the other day. It's probably time to take a deep dive, do presentations. How many years has it been since we've done a big presentation on faculty staff compensation?
Years. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been several.
6 or 7
it's-
years.
it's
Yep.
been
So,
several years.
so as we were talking, as part of, I think it was as part of the conversation is planning for the fall semester for retreats and that sort of thing. The timing is very good to take that deep dive here and coming within the year. So.
When I joined the board, you were finishing up, or you had just finished it.
Yep,
And
so
so I think it is time, because I
About
don't know
7
the
years.
lifespan of that information, but certainly with today's job market and other kinds of considerations, it might be time to redo that. But
Yes, ma'am.
so my request would be, as you advance that thought process on a compensation study, let's definitely have a board workshop about it,
Absolutely.
so that if the board has questions or issues or things that we want to make sure are addressed in a compensation study, that we're a part of that as well. I
Absolutely.
think back to your question a couple months ago, Libby, about minimum wage and those kinds of things. So if there are elements of that compensation study the board wants to have input on, let's definitely understand that process and what your timing is. So,
Absolutely.
Yep.
Duly noted.
And in our team, we have looked in certain areas because of some challenges, as Dr. Escamilla alluded to, in certain areas like certain areas in facilities, the HVAC people and electricians, and also in IT. So because Dr. Escamilla has the authority for staff schedules, for staff salaries by policy, we have moved into different schedules for those particular groups and put them in different wage brackets than other positions. So we have done some smaller scale compensation schedule changes in areas to where we knew that we needed to increase our maybe beginning or midpoint or end ranges in our compensation for particular areas and some challenges of filling some positions.
IT is a great example of that. When we've spoken over the years, the board said move and recruit that talent, do everything you can. And I'll just say, we have never fully caught up in that particular area for staffing, and that hasn't changed.
any other comments about this, where we are right now in the compensation discussion? All right. Continue, Ms. McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this next slide reflects changes in salary categories that include new positions, impact of employee turnover, part-time changes, proposed salary increases, and vacancy rate, because we are never 100% filled 100% of the time. So we'll be talking about these different areas. So on faculty, for new positions, we are proposing, there's 4 positions, there's 2 terms, and there's also 2 regular positions that we're proposing for new faculty positions. Employee turnover, this is, of course, when you have a faculty member that leaves who has been here quite a long time, they have tenure, they have rank, they have years of experience have added up in their salary. So when we hire someone new to come in, they don't have those components built up, so their pay is lower. So there's some salary savings as new come in, and other faculty may leave, like with retiring. So that would be that employee turnover, and could be the case for the categories. And part-time salary, that's your adjunct faculty. So what we looked back at history for 2-3 years and see, well, what have we been spending? What is our spend for adjuncts? And then we adjust our adjunct dollars proportionately. So we've decided that we can decrease that a little bit by like 184,721. And then, as we talked on the slide before, the raises for faculty, the 731,415, and then we have a vacancy rate. So we do factor in vacancies, like I spoke about. We're not 100% filled 100% of the time. So that would be a decrease of 694, almost 695,000. So the overall effect of all of these elements across the board to the line item of faculty salaries in the budget would actually be a decrease of 282,000, approximately 282,000. For exempt salaries, we have some positions to support some of the new initiatives, like Ms. Key spoke about earlier, the Aransas County Center. And we also added a STEM advisor. Some of our advisors were part of a grant that we had, I believe it was a SENDA grant, and in that grant we agreed to institutionalize or move the position once the grant money expired, move it into Del Mar budget. So we are moving one of those advisors into the Del Mar budget. And then we also had a need for a new institutional research position, because we have been so fortunate to bring in some more grant dollars and initiatives. It also requires an enormous amount of data. So we had to add to our data staff, because we have to have that backup information to support grants and other data and co-board and just so many things. So we had to add a staff member for that. So for exempt salaries, the new positions would be 137,265. Employee turnover, this is what we were talking about. Actually, as some staff may leave, we're seeing where we are having to pay about the same or maybe a little higher to fill that, to fill some positions, especially if they're in any type of, I call skilled labor, or also IT. It could be in a few other areas. It could be the IR position, because they're more considered a computer programmer. So it is costing us a little more when that employee rate turnover. Raises the 404,924, which was on the previous slide, and then the vacancy factor of the decrease in 335 for the vacancy factor. So the overall impact to the budget would be an increase for the exempt salaries of 278,787. And as we talked about last year, we have the exempt positions, which are instructional related. So we have started to separate those out. So for your exempt salaries, instructional, we have new positions. We are adding 5 full-time temporary positions in the nurse CNA, or the Certified Nursing Assistants program, 3 construction trades that also support some of our new initiatives, and then a couple in the EKG phlebotomy. Now remember, these are all full-time temporary positions, so we do know that we do have the enrollment for the CNAs and the construction trades already in place to support these positions, because I believe we brought on several more ISDs in just the last week or two. So, but those are full-time temp. So if you look at the instructional related, it's the new positions, which is all these that I just spoke about, be about 771,000. And then the raise associated with that group would be about 3,000. So the overall increase to the budget for instructional exempt positions would be 774,191.
Regents, I'd just like to comment, if I may, Ms. McDonald. Madam Chair and Regents, this is an important move. This is the first time we've done this. We've typically rolled in our continuing education faculty into the overall exempt category, and we were asked for a couple of years. It took us a couple of years to separate those out, so finally we did. I would add to that these faculty are being backloaded because the enrollment's already there. And I'll remind you that at the last base year, that it was that segment of the curriculum that was up 28% in contact hour production. And it continues to rise. It continues to be a very, very active program. Regent Turner, I'm sure you've seen the CNA programs and those students running around in their scrubs and everything else, being the future medical professional, or the professionals that they're aspiring to. It's those students right there. That's an extraordinary program that has grown like crazy. And now the one coming behind it is the construction trades. I just saw them yesterday morning building a little structure over on West Campus. Those are extremely popular programs, so stay tuned.
I wanted to add one thing too, if I could. Part of the exempt instructional salaries is our commercial truck driving group.
Yes.
And it's so popular and in demand right now, there's not an opening till the end of September.
Wow.
And that's running 10 full-time term people as truck driving instructors. And it's in such demand. We were able to keep that program going this last year through COVID, and the rest of the state shut down, and so they were sending them to us. And so this is this exempt salary thing, I really appreciate what Dr. Escamilla and Tammy are saying, because this exempt salary status is really driving a lot of the economy and those career jobs out there. So thank y'all.
Okay. So moving on to the next item is the non-exempt salaries. So the additional position is providing some extra office or administrative support service to the CE area. Then we have our turnover factor of a decrease of 106,000. We have our part-time salary. What we did was prior years, since we were under COVID conditions, we did not hire as many part-time in the last budget, so we decreased that area, so we were putting some of the money back in. So that's what that increase in part-time salary is, of 429,000 approximately. And then the raises, which we talked about the slide before, to not exempt, the 213,783. Again, applying that vacancy rate would decrease about 249, almost 250,000. So the overall increase to the budget of an expense for non-exempt salaries is 317,888. So if we move on to salary and benefits for South Campus, this number, the new positions are basically considered all new positions, is 941,602. That also includes the benefits associated with those new salaries. So it is lumped together. And then, of course, there's no turnover or part-time you go across because this is a new line item for this coming year's budget. So the increase to the budget for South Campus salary and benefits would be 941,602. Our current budget, we do have a few positions that we had hired in this last year that we did put toward that original line item of $1 million we had for Southside. So we do have a handful of positions that we had hired, like a counselor, and there's a couple of others that we had already put on board. So if you look at the benefits, as we talked before, that anytime you do a salary increase, you do have associated benefit costs that go up. So, new positions, employee turnover, part-time, or of course, anytime you have a decrease, it decreases our benefit liability. So across the board, the impact to benefits would be 731,766. So going across the total proposed employee compensation changes, looking at all the different components, the overall impact or increase to the budget would be 2,761,865. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Next topic will be over the M&O expense budget detail. And Jackie's going to come and talk about that.
Yep. Good afternoon.
Hello.
So now we're going to go over the expense budget detail. So in the next two slides, you're going to see the proposed changes to the different categories that we present on our monthly financials. So one thing I did want to mention is that we do not have the expenses for South Campus separated in this. They are included in the appropriate categories. So for our employee compensation changes, Ms. McDonald just went over those changes, which results in a proposed increase of $2,761,865. And then for our non-salary categories, I'm just going to go over the larger amounts that we're proposing, although I would like to mention that there are several categories that were reduced during COVID last year. So some of these changes is just a result of trying to build back that capacity back up into our budget. So for maintenance and repairs, we're proposing an increase of $198,000, and that's for routine maintenance for all of our facilities, including the South Campus. So for the consultants and contract labor, we are proposing a little over $380,000, and that's mainly due to that increase in the contract cost for our custodial services. For travel and professional development, we are proposing a little bit over $255,000. And that's because now that travel restrictions are starting to be lifted, we expect our employees to travel a little bit more. So we're building that capacity back up, but not completely yet. So last year, or prior to COVID, we had about 800,000 budgeted for travel. So this will bring us up to about 60% of what we had budgeted prior to COVID. So for insurance, we are proposing a little over 352,000, and that's due to the increased premium cost of our property and casualty insurance. And then on the slide, you can see that there are several areas that we do anticipate some decreases. So election, the utilities and telephone, bank and collection fees, and of course those South Campus funds that we've had set to the side. So we've reallocated a little over 1.3 million to fund some of these increases that we just discussed. So the overall changes for our total expense budget is $3,047,517, which results to a 2.83%. And just a reminder, that is well below that 5.4% inflation rate that Mr. Garcia discussed earlier. So now Ms. Keys will introduce the proposed operating revenue budget.
Can I ask a question on the can I ask a question on the utilities?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We've got a decrease in utilities, and we're bringing on the South Campus. Is that correct?
Correct. That decrease is a result of our renegotiated energy contract savings. That new rate took place in May of this year.
And how much is the new rate? Do you know?
Oh, I do not know. Mr.
We
Garcia?
we can get that for you.
Yeah, we can get that for you.
We don't. Excuse me. Not right now. You don't have it. I don't have it. Yeah. I will. No problem. No problem. Mr. Bennett, we do not have that handy, but we will get that to you as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Any further questions? Okay, Ms. Keys.
Thank you, Jackie. As we begin to look at revenue, John Johnson's going to come forward and really go through the detailed elements of revenue. However, I wanted to mention that we recognize that with the increase in COVID and the variants, that could directly impact enrollment. However, we dealt with it very well this last year, as you've seen we've talked about the budget adjustments and how well the last year was managed. And if there is a reduction or a change in enrollment is based upon our projections, we're well established to deal with it. And that related direct costs would be dealt with just like they were last year. And we feel very confident that this balance, that the budget would continue to be balanced and we would come out very well. However, we did want to mention the fact that we are recognizing that we're during an increase in COVID, and that could impact enrollment. However, John's going to go ahead and with the assumptions based on revenue for this budget. John?
Excuse me, my foot fell asleep.
Saw a little limp as you were coming up.
Each year I'm put in the envious position of coming up with a revenue budget with all the additional requests that come across the college. In addition, I try to listen and get feedback from the board as to what you're looking at in regards to tuition or property taxes. As you might imagine, we came to you early in the year with a proposed tuition increase, which you all decided that we should remain at the same, which was fine. And in addition, one of our main objectives was to actually lower the tax rate this year to give the property tax individuals some freedom from that additional tax that they get hit with every year. Anyway, the college was able to accomplish these objectives using the following. One, we had an increase in state appropriations of $879,000 due to continued growth in contact hour generation. Of course, we maintained the same tuition revenue as was budgeted in 2019, as Lenora alluded to. We increased property tax revenues, if you will look, by $2.17 million, while maintaining the same M&O tax rate through a district property valuation increase of 3.27%. The overall tax, we were able to decrease the overall tax rate by half a penny due to a reduced, a reduction in the debt obligation on our general obligation bond. So we not only didn't increase our our tuition rate, but we reduced our overall tax rate. So I think we made great strides in that area. Going to the next slide. Top one? Okay. This was just an overview of the M&O and debt service tax rate. Of course, our M&O rate is the amount which provides funding to support the college's maintenance and operational costs. Our debt service tax rate is the amount necessary to cover the general obligation bond annual debt service obligations. If there's any questions on that, I'll be glad to answer them, but this is just something as a reminder each year so you know how the tax rate breaks down. This next slide gives a breakdown of property taxes charged to district residents. The M&O tax rate, the amount this slide gives you a historical breakdown of both M&O and tax rates highlighted in beige and the debt service rate in blue. As shown, the M&O tax rate will remain at its lowest level over the last 5-year period, falling from a high of 0.211260 in 2020 to 205,296 in years 2021 and 2022. In 2021, after our general obligations bonds were fully issued, the debt service rate increased to its highest level of 0.083304. You'll notice that in year 21 in blue. Beginning in year 22, our debt service annual requirement will decrease to 0.078044 or by approximately 6.5%. This debt service rate should continue to decrease over the continuing years due to our decreased annual obligations on our debt service bonds. Using the average homestead exemption, which we show there at the bottom, and using a value of $182,000, this will show a $10 decrease over the previous year from years 21 to 22. Going on, Brother, you want to go over this?
Before we move on, are there any questions about the revenue?
I'm sorry, are there any questions? I kind of skipped over that.
All right, you're safe.
All right. Thank you, Dad. Okay. So we are now at the tail end of the presentation with the college's long-term financial plan. This is our third year of delivering a 5-year financial plan. This forecast is developed in the absence of further shock to the supply chain that could cause changes to our strategic goals, operating activities, and financial agility that Lenora Keys just spoke about. John Johnson and Jackie Landra will now lead us into the conversation on the underlying assumptions for our forecast.
Regents, as the team's coming up, the supply thing is absolutely just mind-boggling. When you're talking about the production of computer chips being slowed down and slowing down and the prices of copper and gold and everything else going up, it is a nightmare for the supply chain. And so for us to be onboarding and bringing on new technology and computers and all these other sorts of things, you can imagine with between the business office, purchasing, and IT, the conversations that are going on. Very, very difficult times. Mr. Johnson.
So looking into the future, our estimated financial outlook assumptions, we will be looking at a 2% on tuition fees, a 2% revenue increase and new enrollment on the South Campus. Our tax assumptions, which we have done for several years and it's worked out very well, we initially assume a 3% property market valuation growth each year, along with $300 million in new construction. At this time, we will leave state appropriations flat until we know what enrollment is going to look like over the next few years based on total enrollment amongst all community college. So at this time, we don't really have a number that we can place in that area.
Thank you. So for our estimated expenses for a 5-year outlook, we did a 3% raise for faculty and staff for fiscal year 2023. We did a 2% raise for fiscal years 24 through 26. For our non-salary categories, those percentages ranged anywhere from 1.3 to 2.7, and it just depends on what category it is that you're looking at. So for like travel, we wouldn't really anticipate a big increase there, but if you're looking at our online database for our library, that's going to require a larger increase because those steadily increase each year. So we use different ranges. We did factor in our energy cost savings rate to factor in that savings for that renegotiated energy contract that started this year. So Mr. Garcia will continue with our estimated tax rates for the next 5 years.
One point of clarity for anyone listening out there, and/or Regents, if you have this question, we are by no means locking in that 2%. It is a placeholder. This is largely a commercial for those that may be watching out there. It is simply a placeholder for us to project out. And again, as I said before, every year is different. So just FYI there. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Are there any questions on our assumptions for our forecast? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next slide. So one key takeaway in our plan is the homeowner's property tax bill is on a downward trajectory. The homeowner of a taxable homestead valued at $182,181 will pay less in property taxes by as much as $61 by fiscal year 2026. The sharp decline in the homeowner's tax bill is attributed in part to the college's forward motion of deleveraging. The existing bond obligations will spiral down by $61.3 million, or 22%, due to the maturities of 3 bond obligations by fiscal year 2026. Moving forward, the college will continue to monitor credit market conditions for bond refunding action items that could result in a cost savings that resemble this past May's bond refunding. The latest bond refunded yielded a cost savings for the college of approximately $500,000. If there are no questions on this slide, Jackie Landrum will provide further details on the estimated financial forecast on the next slide.
Questions? Comments?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I've got one. Just
Yes, sir.
pardon my ignorance, but the debt service, does that include debt or bonds that we issued for the building out of the South Campus, or are we going to see additional debt for?
Go ahead and have.
Yes. So the bond obligations that we issued for the South Side campus is a 20-year payment schedule. The ones that are maturing date back to
2003.
2003.
2003 to 2008. So I think the short answer is no. As the 16 bond is being paid out, it is either escalating or flat. The downturn that the overall that's bringing it down is the paying off of the 2003 bonds. That happened with construction largely on West Campus at that period of time. That's the debt that's rolling off.
So
that was $108 million.
So just to understand, even if we're going to be absorbing or incurring some debt due to our activity on South Campus, we're going to see some reduction
Yes.
in some of the debt we have from previous capital programs.
Yes, sir.
That we had, so that
Yep.
the tax rates should not be impacted
Yeah,
by.
the projected tax rate, the totals, if you look at that, that's the tail of the tail right there, going from a 28 cents down to 20.
I'm sorry, that would be the blue bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask the question another way. All of the bond obligation, all the bond indebtedness, all those bonds have been sold. That's what I'm trying to say. All those bonds have been sold, so there's no more selling of bonds for 2016. All the Southside campus bonds have been sold.
Yes, we are done. No more bond issuance related to the Southside campus. To your questions, I do have some additional information. The bonds that are maturing go back to 2011, that was $36.3 million that was issued. 2013, that was issued for $9 million. And then 2014, that was issued at $8.4 million. All those three bond obligations are maturing and will be paid off by 2026.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, sir.
These assumptions are that we don't take on any additional debts or, I guess, any new capital projects prior to 2026.
Yes, sir. We remain consistent in our current strategic plans that we've just talked about today.
And I'm seeing a significant decrease in the M&O budget, and this is on top of your estimated increases in salary, 3%, 2%, and we're still going to be able to decrease our M&O budget by that much by 2026?
Yes, based on these assumptions that John Johnson and Jackie spoke about, we are on target for a downward trajectory in our M&O rate, right? But we also talked about a continuing project analysis of faculty compensation project. So, based on what we know today, here's where we're at, but here's some other projects that the board is wanting us to do an analysis and assessment and come back with some proposals. So my disclaimer is what we know today, this is where it's at, but things will change over this period of time.
Oh, I understand that. So we're going to do a study, and maybe we find out we have to do more on salaries, and that will have an impact on it. But these decreases include the projected or the assumed salary increases in 2023 and 24 and 26.
Right. So some of the energy cost savings, that's helping. If we find out some additional opportunities to do some refunding on some of our old bonds that can save us some savings, all those things come into play, but we won't know until we get closer to the later years to figure out how that's going to impact.
Okay, well, that's the overall
So,
reduction,
yes,
but that would be coming out of the sinking fund, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And then there's going to be, I think the assumptions here are also that the tax base continues to experience growth. And that's
how we
what's
do it,
going to
okay.
sustain it. Yeah. And so the natural growth that just, from same as school district days.
By controlling costs, but the community's continuing to expand, we can reduce the tax burden on everybody and give our employees higher pay.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
what and that's what, when we kicked off this conversation, that's exactly what I was referring to.
I just thought it needed to be said.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly.
Dr. Turner?
So, I'm not sure if maybe after the budget, would you be able to tell us exactly how the COVID funds are being used?
I'm sorry, how the COVID?
Yeah, the COVID.
HERF funds.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you're going to talk about that now or like later after we approve everything.
So
it's up to you. I'd
well,
just like to know how those
yeah.
funds are being used.
No, absolutely. And so as we are still putting those plans together to
Okay.
bring, and the month of August will be hitting the budget many
Hard.
times, and so that's where we're going to roll out the plan. That being said, we already there's adjustments, based on what we were planning on and so forth. So coming to you starting the
That'd
next
Yeah.
board
That'd be fine.
meeting.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that goes back to our agility, our ability to plan, and then, something new happens and then we adjust, And so this whole trending of the virus is making us think a little bit more as to should we change something in our current plan today. So, but more to come. Any other questions?
I do have a question about the non-salary expenditures. Jackie referenced several things that we're trying to get back to pre-pandemic levels, for example, professional development. So do we see some short-term adjustments in 23 and 24 potentially for those kinds of impacts as well?
In 23, you're going to see some of that. So that's our biggest jump, is going from 22 to 23. And some of those are back in there, building that capacity back up.
Yep. Add to that, tie back to Regent Turner's question, HERF dollars are really focused on those as well. There's a big category in there for professional development opportunities as it relates to the COVID effect, if you will. And so there's going to be that compounding or that factor factored in as well. So, but here we were getting ready to open up. Everybody's traveling here. Maybe not. It just depends on how the world is going to react to, all these conferences and everything else. If they're going to react and start shutting down or minimizing or going online, we don't know. So we're going to have to be ready to pivot.
And
yeah, these estimates are purely based off of what we know today.
Yes.
Right.
And as we all know, that can change, whether it's a crisis like the pandemic or a natural disaster. So it's just off of what we know today.
Okay.
So we have some updates. Jackie, would you please share?
Yes, to Regent Bennett, to your question on the energy rate. So our old rate for the old contract was 0.050107. And with our new rate, it is now 0.03498 per kilowatt.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks to the business team for getting on that last year at this time, as I recall.
Yes, in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes. Good. Okay. So when we're looking at our 5-year forecast, so like I said, on 22 to 23, that's our largest increase. And the reason for that is we're building that capacity. That's the first year that we're going to have the South Campus and the Aransas County Workforce Development Center fully operational. So we have that big increase, but looking after 23, our budget starts to level out. It's about $2 million each year in increase to cover those increases that we discussed. And the average range from 1.3% to a 2% increase each year. So do we have any questions? Okay.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
It's a general question. I think I asked for the comparison of our tax rate to the average tax rate in Texas during our last meeting, and I was hoping to see that this time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bennett. I thought my understanding was we would provide the information and not necessarily be part of this presentation. And I'm sorry, that was my fault.
No, it's okay. Mr. Bennett, we'll do both. We're going to do belt and suspenders, and we'll get that to you. We have it readily. It's in many places, but we'll get that to you individually, and then roll that back into the next budget conversation. For sure, to bring it to the entire board so that we can give some juxtapose according to our peers and or other districts across the state. My apologies for that one.
Yes, that would be.
I appreciate that. I like to see the comparison of Del Mar to Del Mar, but I also like to see Del Mar compared to other community colleges.
Duly noted, and that's been practice over the years at various times, not very consistent, but we can do that. We can do that readily.
Thank you.
We'll have that at our August 10th board meeting budget update. Sorry about that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, if there's no other questions, that concludes our presentation.
I've got one quick
yes,
question.
sir.
Line item tuition fees and contracts. I see from fiscal year 2022 to 23, a $5 million, almost $5 million increase. And the other years has maybe $1 million. But what makes 22 to 23 so different?
Yes.
From 23 to 24.
So a couple of things. So earlier in the presentation, we talked about our unemployment for the region. We said about 2,800 of unemployed altogether. So what happened back in the 2007 crisis, there was a ramping up of activity thereafter. And so what we think we will see is some of that 2,000 of the unemployed will be coming back to do some reskilling, right? And the other piece is that we have a lot of students who still prefer, that FaceTime face-to-face instruction. Sure, we're going to get hit twice, right? So typically in community colleges, when the economy is poor, then they come to us for reskillings, and then our credit hour, regular credits pretty much normalizes, and then the opposite is true when the economy flips. In this case, we're just going to have the best of two worlds all at once, and I think that's going to be part of that, what we're going to see in 2023.
Thank you, Raul. I
Yeah.
also wanted to add, in '23 is the first full year of South Campus being
And that's the other
online.
thing, yeah.
And so we have a projected increase in enrollment for that first full year. Next year of '22, it's going to be it's going to be a partial year.
Right.
And so year of '23 is the first full year of Southside.
Yeah, what you're saying makes perfect sense. I'm just thinking a little beyond that. We have probably some curriculums of study or some areas of study where they're at capacity, and we can't probably build capacity enough to be able to get additional enrollment in those areas. We've also got probably some others that we're not able to fill the classroom on. Do you have some strategic ideas or marketing plans for being able to try to fill those that we have plenty of capacity in versus those that we already are at capacity on?
Yes, sir. One of the big things with Southside coming on will be the STEM building. Their science, technology, engineering, math building is going to come on with architecture. And we definitely expect an increase in those areas. Also then will be the new culinary arts facility. Right now, they're over on West Campus in a 60-year-old building. And so when those culinary arts students move over and you see this new growth, we're really projecting a 23, 24 in those years, and the geographical positioning of South Campus within 20 minutes to Texas A&M Corpus Christi, about 30, 35 to Texas A&M Kingsville, the transfer programs, those programs and that enhancement with our new 2 programs with your VIP program with A&M Corpus and our Javelina program that's coming online with Kingsville as far as dual enrollment, all those marketing strategies are going to come together.
Okay,
So we really do expect a good boost.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes our today's presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have our final property tax numbers in, and all of this is in play. This is what we're going to see. We have one final budget workshop on August 11th, and then be ready to adopt at the end of August. Any questions about the process? Yes, sir.
Comments on format?
Any comments, questions on format, feedback?
Okay.
That's good.
We can talk later. If there's anything else that comes up, please don't hesitate to call me, and we'll be meeting individually as well to go over any information that you've requested.
Great. All right, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
It is my understanding that the next staff report on the contract review is going to be tabled and brought back in August. Is that correct, Dr. Escamilla?
Correct, Madam Chair. Thank
Okay.
you.
And so we'll move on to our pending business items. That is on page somewhere. There we go. Page 57. So at our regular August meeting, we will have our quarterly financial and investment reports. We'll have an internal audit report to the board. Our ad hoc bylaws committee is going to be prepared to present. I think Ms. Averitt, who is chairing that, has asked if we would be ready to discuss and possibly take action. So it'll not be a staff report or a regent report. It will be on our action agenda. So depending on the level of questions and or content changes you may or may not want to make, we'll have that so that it can be discussion and possible action. It's very easy to table that to a later meeting if there are significant changes, but she thinks they're going to be ready. So did I address that correctly? Good. Thank you. We'll also be hearing about the rebranding work that has been in play for about a year now, including the community feedback and some creative proposals that are going to come forward to the board.
Yes. we'll be seeking your consideration on that item as we complete that staff. I was briefed by Ms. Williams this morning, and we will be bringing a proposal to you all, and that's an exciting thing. To have done that over the course of this past year, to have done it virtually, there was pros and cons, but just an admirable just product and process. Could not ask for anything more. Just one little tidbit, there's a duplication on 4 and 11 there.
Yes.
Just for the record.
Thank you. And so our SACS reaffirmation update also includes our QEP, which is our Quality Improvement Plan. And so we'll be hearing an update on that in August as well. Any other questions about our pending business list? Moving on to our regular agenda item. We do have a few action items that staff would like us to take care of at this meeting. And we will start with looking at the award for West Campus roof replacements. Mr. Strabos, Dr. Escamilla, do you have any opening comments? Or?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
The sheet that provides the detailed information about the evaluation criteria, the evaluation committee, and the proposal scoring is making its way now. We have advertised, the purchasing department's advertised for this. This is part at the, so this one is for the West Roofs. This is a 2014 bond project funded with the 2014 bond funds. And we have received a total of 7 different bids. We had one bidder who ended up not being qualified. We have ranked these, and we're recommending the bid to Rio Roofing for $1,800,500. And we have the backup that explains that process. Questions?
Any questions? There's a staff recommendation that we award that contract to Rio Roofing. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Adami. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Garza. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Next item is related to awarding a bid on our South Campus pedestrian bridge and multi-use trail.
I would like to comment on this one.
Yes, sir.
Regents, we have been working on this project for a very long time, and the city of Corpus Christi has been a fine partner in this whole process. And going back many councils ago now, there were commitments from the college to do a couple of things as we advanced the South Campus location, and in particular once we got to the 2016 bond. Those 2 items that we're talking about here were integral, were served as underpinnings, philosophical underpinnings. You know, the track that we're talking about here, there's 2 things. The track was to promote, was to be a part of the curriculum and to be a part of the presence down there, our presence on the south side, to promote health and wellness and activity and all of these great things. It's a phenomenal area where there's already many miles of walking sidewalks and so forth, trails and so forth. So it becomes a part of a bigger ecosystem, if you will, of health and wellness. Okay. The other item with regard to the pedestrian bridge, you know, we come up on the edge. Our property comes up on the edge of that drainage canal there, and pedestrian access to the south side from that north side was critical, and it was another part of our planning processes and commitments to the college, to the community. So access, health, wellness, all by way of pedestrian traffic is where this comes from the past. Thank you.
You have the evaluation, the backup for this with evaluation criteria, the evaluation committee. We advertised, we had a pre-bid meeting, had several firms show up, including Fulton, and ended up with just one bid. And we discussed this with purchasing about what our alternatives are, and we're recommending bringing this to you. This is a niche project. While it's $600,000, it's kind of like going down to the bridge store and buying a bridge, but it's not a regular bridge. It's a 100-foot long bridge. It's 14 feet wide. It'll be made in a factory in like Alabama. So it's a special trip. It's a niche project. It's one of those that's too small for the larger contractors, and yet it requires a specialty contractor. And we've gotten this one bid from a local company, Marshall Company. We're recommending award to them, and that's being funded with the 2016 bond funds with the interest income.
Thank you, Mr. Strybos. Do we have questions on this proposal?
Just ask quickly, I'm sorry.
So go ahead.
Was the bid within what the
It was-
range you had
it was
expected?
what we were expecting, that the estimate originally was about $500,000, and while we're approximately $100,000 over that, it's partly just the economy, the whole logistics. You've heard that, this whole supply chain and everything. The price of concrete, just basic core materials for this. So it is within the budget that we're expecting for the project.
Mr. Garza?
Yeah, it was just overall about the bridge. Dr. Scamilla refreshed my memory a little bit, but I remember that we abandoned the road that was supposed to go through there, Bronx.
Yes.
It was supposed to connect Yorktown to, I guess it's Lipes, or I guess it's Lipes there,
Up
next to
Lipes. Yes,
Veterans
sir.
Bridge.
Yes, sir.
So I remember there being two property owners that were actually going to have to fund some of that, a regular road bridge that was going to go in that area.
Correct.
Is that bridge going in that area? Did we look at getting any participation from the developers or the property owners in there, since they're going to have connectivity to the college from the apartment projects, from the school?
Well,
Just give me a little bit of background.
Yeah, so when you were on the south side, when you were a south side rep with the city before you were at the other district, we had these conversations. I remember you took the time to physically get out there and go look at the Bronx property. The Bronx property, apologize for not having this map, but just ran, if you will, from north and south, and was going to cut off about 7 acres of our 96 acres and render it. I mean, just really hinder our operational uses of that land. And so we worked and worked and worked. I think it took us 3 years to ultimately get the city approval to abandon that idea of the Bronx property and not run through our property and not charge us to build the road. I mean, it was one of those deals. So that everybody came together and understood that a through street near a high school right through the campus of the college, not to mention debilitating the use and limiting our use of it, with just a through street on a campus is not safe for many reasons. We had Chief Rocha, many people came together on that one, including the council members. The other part, no sir, we did not seek participation from the others. It wasn't a road. Had it been a road, and we would have had to produce the road, we would have called some people and said, how can we partner on this? This being a pedestrian bridge and really being part of, as I was saying earlier, part of that that philosophical underpinning of really working for the community by way of the pedestrian access and so forth. It's really been upon us. I remember various council people, saying, hey. The conversations went such that Del Mar College was going to own all of that process, therefore maintenance and all of these other kinds of things. I know we're going to come our way, but it was just ours. It's been ours. So no, we didn't seek.
It's solely going to be on our property.
Well, it'll
on both sides.
Yeah.
Only on our property. On the north side, it ties into a city right-of-way.
Okay.
Developers do have to build the sidewalks on that north side of the canal to connect to the pedestrian bridge.
So the connectivity will
That
be.
is their participation.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I had
Yes,
a
sir.
question. I mean, I'm mindful of the fact that we had one bid.
Yes, sir.
But are we satisfied that Marshall has sufficient experience building bridges?
Well, they're not building the bridge.
Oh,
They're installing.
They're installing the bridge.
okay.
Yes, sir. It's all concrete work. Their part is drilled shafts, concrete pavement for the sidewalks itself. Yes, sir. They do have the experience for this job.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Other questions?
Questions?
Staff is recommending award to Marshall Company in the amount of $596,340 using the 2016 bond unallocated interest income. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Averett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Garza. Any other questions about the motion of the project? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes. And our last item on the agenda is Southside Campus project change orders.
We continue to work with Gensler, with AGCM, and these are change orders that are a combination of them. You have a detailed list. The total amount of the change orders is $490,492.70. And they are items like the culinary arts, addition of chilled water, piping to the walk-in cooler condensers, all buildings, additional mortar colors at the brick facade. The main building, a architectural bulletin, number 6, the addition and codifications of wall framing, ceiling partitions, door hardware, millwork and lighting. Culinary arts, the addition of hand sinks at the kitchens. Site, addition of fire sprinkler valve cabinets. Culinary arts, the changes and additions to the security of the building, security system. Main building changes to the streamers at the main stairs. Culinary arts, the addition of a second passenger elevator, and that's the price just for the elevator. And then culinary arts, changes and additions to the smoker room and air transfers and additions. And a lot of this is being driven by, we're having constant meetings with the users to make sure the buildings are what they need and want. The project has changed a lot since we first started, and as well as the building codes and the architects catching different things. So we have this list of change orders that have been reviewed by the architects and by AGC.
Just curiosity, this big one is the addition of the second passenger elevator.
Yes.
Yes.
And so had we planned an empty space and then didn't buy the elevator? I'm just curious as to how do you do that?
That's part of the, from the original bids.
Mhm.
Part of the value engineering was basically, it's an elevator shaft that is designed for 2 elevators. And we bought 1 elevator, and that's being installed. And along the way, we've realized the savings and the efficiencies.
Very
That
good.
rather than these being 2 separate shafts where you can install that elevator later, that in order to bring in the new elevator, if we did it at a later date, it would cost significantly more. And that main elevator would also be shut down at the same time. So this is, again, because of the overall interest income and how well the project has been progressing.
Good. Good explanation. Any other questions related to these change orders? There's a request to approve the change order then in the amount of $490,492.70. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Hutchison. Any questions on the motion of the project? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, please raise your hand. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Stravos.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, so we've discussed calendaring. We do have our 2 upcoming board meetings in August. Regular board meeting and second Tuesday, and then our final budget workshop and adoption on August the 24th. Thank you. And our regular board meeting in September as well.
Yes, ma'am. 2 other dates to mention in the month of August, just really quickly. Summer graduation will be conferral only. So just know that we'll be demarking that occasion on the 20th, and still having a celebration of sorts. And we're still offering opportunities for our students to join us. We'll see how this fall goes. And the other thing is August 23rd is convocation, and we'll be reaching out to you soon as we finalize the plans there. We're already communicating the time. That'll take place at 9 o'clock in the morning. I think 9 o'clock is when we're saying. So we'll get the details to you all at the next board meeting, but you can pencil it in from 9 to about 10:30. Maybe 11 because we got some celebration stuff going on there. But we'll see what the format looks like. Stay tuned. That covers the month of August, but I just had to jump in there, Madam Chair.
Great. All right.
Chair, can I confirm that the meeting on the 10th is only at 1 o'clock? There's not a workshop or anything before it, is that right?
So it is a lengthy, there's lots of items on this one. There are 15 regular items on this one. So we were talking this morning, Ms. Bettis and I, about the possibility of front-loading some of the financial items, because lots of those items will be, hang on, bear with me, quarterly investment, quarterly financial, quarterly investment, internal audit, those kinds of things. And so it's whatever the board's pleasure is, but if you want to get started, we can front load it with some financial not perfunctory, but just annual kinds of things that we have to
So what's
quarterly
your pleasure,
things.
board? We can
Yeah.
start at 1 o'clock and have a super long meeting, or we can start a little bit earlier, maybe at 10, and put some of that into the morning
Yep, that's it.
with a working lunch, maybe our closed session over working lunch or something like that.
Kind of sounded like Susan had something on her calendar for that.
No, just want to make sure.
But it
Block off anything extra. You're going to be late that day?
Yeah. I was planning at 1, so I won't be able to get here before 2.
So, okay. So regardless, you're going to not be here till 2, okay?
I'm just going to stretch out, take over all the space.
All right, well, I'm going to request that you block out from 10 o'clock on, and we will confirm that as soon as we can.
yes.
Um,
We have agenda prep next week, so we're gonna really tighten up that.
We have agenda prep tomorrow.
My apologies.
We'll
My
decide
apologies.
tomorrow and get back to you ASAP.
Sorry, I'll be there tomorrow, I promise, Madam Chair.
All right, with no other business before the board, we are adjourned at 3:09 PM. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Done.